মুক্তাদির, আমাকে কি শোনা যাচ্ছে?
হ্যাঁ, পরিষ্কার। তুই কি আমাকে শুনতে
Sorry,
পারতেছিস?
হ্যাঁ শুনতেছি দোস্ত, সরি আমার ক্লাসটা একটু লম্বা হয়ে গেছে আর কি। আমি মনে
আচ্ছা, আচ্ছা।
করতেছিলাম যে ঠিক আছে,
আমি কি
ওরা মাত্র শেষ করলাম তো, ওদের বোধহয় 4-5 মিনিট লাগবে আর কি, পানি টানি বসতে আর কি
আচ্ছা,
আবার।
ঠিক আছে। তো
ওকে,
পনেরো
থ্যাংক ইউ।
11টায় শুরু করি নাকি?
হ্যাঁ, না আর 5-7 মিনিট পরেই শুরু করতে পারবি, 5-7 মিনিট পরেই শুরু
আচ্ছা।
করবি, চল্লিশে
পার্টিসিপেন্ট
শুরু করবি।
কতজন টোটাল?
পার্টিসিপেন্ট মানে আমরা ইয়ারা ছাড়া বোধহয় 12-13 জন ছিল আমার ক্লাসে আর কি।
আচ্ছা,
ওরকম,
আচ্ছা, ঠিক আছে।
ওরকমই হবে। জাস্ট 5-7 মিনিট পরে শুরু করলে হবে।
আচ্ছা, ঠিক আছে, নো
ওকে,
ওয়ারিস।
থ্যাংক ইউ।
হ্যাঁ,
থ্যাংক ইউ।
হ্যাঁ। হ্যালো, আমরা সবাই কি উপস্থিত আছি? আমরা কি ক্লাসটা শুরু করতে পারি? আপনারা কি
স্যার
আমাদেরকে
বুঝতে পারছি
শুনতে
স্যার।
পারতেছেন?
জি স্যার
শুনতে
জি
পারতেছেন?
স্যার শোনা যাচ্ছে।
জি স্যার, শুরু করতে পারেন স্যার।
জি
এটা স্যার নামাজ আছে তো স্যার, তো সেই হিসাবে তো একটু
জি
শেষ
জি
করতে হবে।
থ্যাংক ইউ। আমি আসলে একটু মনে হয় আগের ক্লাসটায় মনে হয় একটু দেরি হয়ে গেছে, এই জন্য আপনাদের একটু সময় লাগছে। I was waiting. I was present, but unfortunately, I had to wait. The participants were very few. তো আমরা শুরু করতে যাইতেছি। প্রথমেই আমি ক্ষমা, আমার কথা বা ছবি কি আপনারা পরিষ্কার দেখতে পাচ্ছেন? কেউ কি একটু রেসপন্ড করবেন প্লিজ?
জি স্যার।
আমি ডাটা দিয়ে শোনা যাচ্ছে পরিষ্কার?
জি স্যার শোনা যাচ্ছে।
শুনতে পাচ্ছি স্যার, শুনতে পাচ্ছি।
থ্যাংক ইউ। On behalf of myself, I am Dr. Muktadir Choudhury and BUHS. I would like to welcome you all in the class of practice management. As all of you are aware that our topic is today practice management, family practice management. So what does it mean, family practice management? Family practice management is the management of a medical practice comprehensively by using all the management tools and involving the people, that is human resource, financial resource, and operational plan of the practice. Now, first of all, I would like to tell about what is family practice. So, first of all, I am going to start with the what family practice is. A family practice is an institution or an organization where we provide medical care to an individual or family, including the family, which integrates the clinical, individual, and contextual aspects of the person and community involved. It is not related with age, sex, organ system, or any disease entity. So this is the definition of family practice, and a comprehensive management of this practice is which we are going to discuss today. Practice management essentially means managing all the business aspects of your medical practice. First of all, human resources, the staffs involved in your practice, then finance, information technology, compliance and legal issues associated with the practice, marketing of your own practice, and operational plans. These are the main things. It's very difficult to accommodate in one session, but as much as possible. Now, if we look at the medical practice types are basically two types: solo practice and group practice. Solo practice is described by its name, a practice without partners or employment affiliation with other practice organization. যেখানে একজন ডাক্তার থাকবে এবং সেই এই প্র্যাকটিসের সোল অধিকারী এবং সে অন্য কোনো প্র্যাকটিসের সাথে পার্টনারশিপ বা অ্যাফিলিয়েশনে থাকবে না। সোলো প্র্যাকটিসের ক্যারেক্টারিস্টিক্স হলো এটা আপনার স্টাফ সংখ্যা থাকে খুবই লিমিটেড এবং স্বভাবতই একজন যেহেতু ডাক্তার তার রোগীর সংখ্যা হবে লিমিটেড এবং doctor is totally autonomous so that he can design, grow and develop his own style of practice, thus creating an atmosphere so that the doctor have a better relationship with his patient. A good doctor-patient relationship would develop here. But on the contrary, there is one problem. The whole burden is with one person. He has to manage, he has to work as a practice manager because with one person it is not feasible for him to appoint a practice manager and running the practice at the initial stage. And all the financial constraint will be on him. So there are certain limitations of solo practice and there are certain advantages. So we can group practice are typically divided into two types mainly. One is single specialty practice and multi-specialty practice. Single specialty practice means that maybe only the family physicians or only the nephrologist or only the cardiologist. And as there are group practice, there are lots of doctors are involved here and challenges are more. এবং এই ক্ষেত্রে যেটা অসুবিধা হলো যে আপনাদের সবাইকে আপনার অ্যাকোমোডেটিভ হইতে হয় এবং স্টাফ ম্যানেজ করা একটা চ্যালেঞ্জ। কিন্তু এটার অ্যাডভান্টেজটা হলো যে ফাইন্যান্সিয়াল বার্ডেন ইজ লেস এবং যেহেতু ইনক্রিজ নাম্বার অফ পেশেন্টস উইল বি দেয়ার, there will be less therapeutic doctor patient relationship. এই সমস্ত ক্ষেত্রে দেখা যায় যে ডাক্তার পেশেন্ট রিলেশনশিপটা একটু ডিফিকাল্ট এবং there may be conflicts between the staffs. That is also an important issue. And another advantage is there is more flexibilities of duties. মানে কোন সময় যদি ছুটির দরকার হয় বা অফ নিতে হয় এটার সুবিধাটা বেশি। So group practices has certain advantage and disadvantage. Solo practices has got certain advantage and disadvantage. So keeping this in mind, we can proceed. For group practices, there are certain other issues which needs to be addressed. When there is group practice, certain times it arises that you need to hire a person to run instead of a person who is in leave or away from his duties. এই সমস্ত ক্ষেত্রে আমাদের দেশে আমরা তো জাস্ট হায়ারিং বলি, বাইরে একটা টার্ম আছে লকাম টেনেন্স এবং এটা সংক্ষেপে লকাম বলে। লকাম is a Latin word and which literally means one who holds the place. And this person covers the person who is absent on duties on a temporary basis. And it may arise on different clinical needs. যদি কোনো সময় ক্লিনিকের বা আপনার প্র্যাকটিসের র্যাপিড এক্সপানশন দরকার হয়, অথবা আপনার কোনো ডাক্তার ছুটিতে যায়, তখন locum tenens hiring doctor, that is for a temporary basis. Locum tenens might be more expensive than the fixed doctors because you are hiring somebody in temporary purpose. Now we can discuss about the types of medical practice according to location. Excuse me. It can be urban practice or rural practice. If it is located in the rural areas, then it is rural, and শহরের মধ্যে হলে urban practice. Sometimes a practice can be dispensing or non-dispensing. That means the doctor is going to dispense the medicines by his own hands. There
Muktadir, sorry to interrupt. Muktadir, sorry to
the
interrupt.
reason for dispensing service is sometimes in rural areas you may not get it, keep it. So what his own benefit and disadvantages. It can be or part of a complex. And according to the operation of a practice, the practice can be procedural. Please.
Muktadir, sorry to interrupt. আমাকে শোনা যাচ্ছে, ওই যে স্ক্রিন মুভ করতেছে না মনে হয়, ওই স্ক্রিনটা এখনো গ্রুপ প্র্যাকটিসের মধ্যে আছে, লোকাম টেনেন্সের মধ্যে আছে। সবাই কি স্ক্রিন দেখতে পাচ্ছেন? আপডেটেড স্ক্রিনটাকে দেখতে পাচ্ছেন? আমার এতে কিন্তু স্ক্রিন মুভ করতেছে না। মুক্তাদির এখন কোন পেজে? পেজ তো কম্পিউটারে। হ্যালো,
আমি তো ডাটা দিয়ে
মিউট হয়ে
করতেছি।
গেছে, কম্পিউটার মিউট হয়ে গেছে তো।
আমি ডাটা দিয়ে করায় মনে হয় একটু ডিলে হচ্ছে, ওয়াইফাই
টাইপস অফ, এবার ঠিক আছে,
ওয়াইফাই
এবার ঠিক
কানেকশনটা
আছে।
চলে গেছে।
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, এবার ঠিক আছে,
মনে হয় সময় নিচ্ছে।
হ্যাঁ এবার ঠিক আছে, এবার ঠিক আছে, দ্যাটস ওকে, সরি।
নাইস,
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, ওকে ওকে ওকে, থ্যাংক ইউ, থ্যাংক ইউ।
Types of medical practice, it can be procedural or non-procedural. Audience, but unfortunately the Wi-Fi is not working, so I am talking on data. If you kindly accommodate, are you going to listen me, please?
Sure. শোনা যাচ্ছে।
Thanks. Now, before starting a practice, we should think what are the essential components of a medical practice. The essential components of medical practice is there should be a parking area. In most of the cases in our country, it may not be possible because of the overpopulation or less place. But at least there should be a dropping zone so that patient can be dropped off. So if parking area is not possible, if it may not be possible in all the places, at least there should be a place for parking a car so that patients can come safely. Sometimes disabled patient comes to the practice and it should be keep it in mind. After parking area, the most important area is the waiting room or waiting area. That is the place where patient will come and wait. It should be a calm and comfortable area so that patient can sit down, and if feasible, there should be certain way to attract the patient by means of television or certain health magazine, or the objectives of the practice place, what we are going to do. And there should be a reception area. In addition to reception area, there should be a consultation room. And if it is procedural general practice or family practice, there should be a procedural room and an investigation lab room. If the practice desires or the practitioner desires to start a laboratory service. But all these things will cost money, so there should be a financial analysis before starting all of this. How much a practitioner can afford and how much it will drain the energy and money. Now, after arranging these things, we should go for staffs. What are the basic staffs we need to start a practice? If it is a small practice, then need of practice manager at the beginning can be omitted. I think it will be a costly exercise and we can try to run ourselves without appointing a highly paid manager. You might need only one receptionist who will book the patient, a cleaner, and a practice nurse. These 3 persons, in fact, is very important to start the practice. Now, after appointing the staff, we should make ready the job description of the staff. That's what they are going to do. Doctor or manager, whoever is in charge of the clinic, he should be very cautious and talk with the respective staffs and make a job description. This is the what purpose they are appointed for. এবং এইটা করার আগে প্রথমেই যেটা করতে হবে, একটা ইনস্টিটিউশনের বা একটা সেন্টারে, মেডিকেল সেন্টার অর প্র্যাকটিসের একটা মিশন এন্ড ভিশন স্টেটমেন্ট রেডি করতে হবে। So a job description should first state the mission and vision statements of the practice. Mission means that some of us may be confused with the mission and vision. Mission is the objectives what a person want to achieve and how the objectives are achieved. That is the mission. So I think it should be written in the job description, and the vision at the end of your mission statements, what you want to see personally, where you want to go, where is the aspiration of the person involved in the practice is want to achieve. That is the vision. Then name of the post and qualifications. We should mention the name of the post and qualification and write it down whether it is full-time or part-time appointment. Sometimes part-time appointment may be cost-effective at the initial stage of the starting a practice in context to our country, because if you appoint a person for whole day or 8 hours, it may be expensive. But if you just break the 2 shift person and people, those who are free at that time, they can be cost effective. So wherever possible, try to overcome the burden of the finance. So when you are going to make the job description, you should make a table like this. First of all, key responsibilities. Then what are the key responsibilities? It should not be very large in numbers, at least 7 or 8, around 8. Below 10 should be enough. And against each key responsibilities, what is the input given, what output you want to achieve, and there should be a measurement indicator that if I get these things, that will be the 100% of the indicator system, and you will mark achievement. At the initial stage, when the number of the patient is less, you can attend to this measurement indicator system and see the achievement of the staffs, that how far they are doing. If their achievement is not good enough, then quality improvement cycle of that specific person can be started. I think in other parts of the lecture, maybe somewhere it may be covered that what is quality improvement cycle. For a person, if necessary, proper training or other measures can be taken to increase the performance of that specific person. So I think that will be little bit enough for you to start thinking about the persons who are going to employed by you, so that you get enough job done in return of your money. So as we discussed, that setting up your dream practice, there should be a parking place, waiting room, consultation room, procedure room if there is a procedure. And staff is receptionist, doctor himself, cleaner, attending nurse. So these are the minimum things you have to do. Now we can go to start with patient recall. A patient has come, your receptionist has booked a patient, and definitely there was a class of consultation technique and consultation skills. Now you have seen the patient and you want to recall the patient. What is recall? Patient recall. It is the process of encouraging the patient to attend your practice again and again, so that you are not losing your patient and giving the continuity of the care or providing the continuity of the care to a patient and his family regularly. It is essential to regular checkup for one person, so that any hidden things should not be missed. So in your patient recall system, you should encourage the patient to visit your practice again and again. And the patient recall system may be from weeks to years. And the practitioner's objective is to engage the patient during that interval. এই জায়গায় মনে রাখতে হবে যে এই 6 সপ্তাহ বা 6 মাস বা এটা করে এবং ভুলে না যায় যে আমি এই প্র্যাকটিসে যাইতাম। So regardless of specialization and duration of the recall, it is important that you have patient recall system in place. So recall সিস্টেমের যতটুকু ডিস্টেন্স বা যতটুকু গ্যাপেই হোক না কেন, একটা রিকল সিস্টেম প্লেসে রাখতেই হবে যাতে ফেরত আসে। আর না হলে একটা সময় গিয়ে কিন্তু আপনার আর নতুন পেশেন্ট আসবে না, তখন পুরাতন পেশেন্টও যদি না আসে, then you will be in troubles. So patient recall system is very important, and we should be careful on putting it place in from the very first patient of the practice. And at the beginning of the practice, it's my own experience, the patient's number will be less. And that is the time you have to invest behind the patient so that gives you fruits. Your time brings you the patient, and ultimately you are not financially loser. Why we should recall a patient? Does it necessary that sometimes at the beginning of my practice, I also thought that a patient will come, I will see a patient, and ultimately he will go. I did not thought that way that I should motivate the patient to come back again for the continuity of the care, and my practice becomes propagate among the communities. তো আসলে প্রথম পেশেন্ট থেকেই আপনাদের মনোযোগ দিয়ে পেশেন্টকে রিকল করার একটা সিস্টেমে নিয়ে আসতে হবে। এটা কেন করি আমরা রিকল সিস্টেম? ইট উইল ইনক্রিজ দ্য ওয়ার্থ টু পেশেন্টস। এটা আপনাকে ডাক্তার হিসেবে রোগীর কাছে অধিকতর মূল্যবান মনে করে তুলবে, যে না, ডাক্তার আমার কথা ভাবতেছে এবং আমার ভবিষ্যৎ চিকিৎসা নিয়ে ডাক্তার কনসার্ন। তখনই রোগীটা আপনার জন্য ফিল করবেন there will be a good doctor and patient relationship, and he will come back to your practice again and again. So first number is increase your worth to patients. Next is helps retains patients. আপনি যখন রোগীর কথা চিন্তা করবেন, ন্যাচারালি রোগীও আপনার কথা চিন্তা করবে যে না, ডাক্তার আমার কথা চিন্তা করতেছে, so I should go to this practice regularly, and this doctor is good to take care of myself and my family for future. এখানে দুইটা জিনিস আপনার মনে রাখতে হবে, একটা হলো পেশেন্ট acquisition and patient retention. The main purpose of this patient recall is patient retention, and when one patient is retained in your practice, he will disseminate the message to his relatives and his colleagues or his friends that this place is good, you should go to these doctors. He thinks for his patients and the community, and ultimately you will not be frustrated, and your patient will be loyal, and you will be satisfied with your own job. Number 3, decide on the best mode of communication. When you are going to put the strategies, you will decide how you are going to communicate with the patients, and it should be decided with the doctors, with the patient, that when you are going to call him next time, how you are going to call him. That is through message, emails, or phone calls. These are the main 3 ways. Sometimes it is important, one person can develop a patient portal where you can communicate with your own patient base. So phone call, text message, and patient portal. These sometimes you might find that these are called omni-channels communications, means you are concentrating your communication through one centering approach, in contrast to multi-channel communication of various materials and material-oriented approach. So our communication is patient-centered, and we should think which way we should communicate. Is it through text message, emails, or phone calls? And priorities should be given to the opinions of the patients. Sometimes patient may prefer emails, some patients may prefer phone call and other things. Number 4, it will improve your patient volume. If you are regularly recalling your patients, your number of patient volumes in everyday practice will be increased, so that you will feel happy and satisfied at the end of the day you are doing something and seeing the patients. And it will help to keep your schedule full. এবং এটা আপনার শিডিউলটাকে ফুল রাখতে সাহায্য করবে. It will take time. Don't create frustration among yourselves that first few months or first few days your patient is less, but try to follow that your patient will bring another patients. Hopefully, just for your interest sake, if you want to retain your patient, if one person is happy, he will bring 5 customers. Approximately, he will bring 5 clients. So it's huge numbers. And if one client is dissatisfied, he will take away from 9 to 13 patients or a client from your place. So in no way a practitioner should be dissatisfied or try to make satisfied his client so that he doesn't give a negative feedback about your practice, which will be a disaster for a practitioner. Strategies for effective patient recall. How you can recall a patient? What are the strategies a practitioner can develop for retaining his patient? First of all, schedule the appointments as soon as you can. যখন প্রথম পেশেন্টকে দেখা হবে, সাথে সাথে ওই পেশেন্টকে পুনরায় আসার জন্য এডুকেট করতে হবে, উৎসাহিত করতে হবে এবং ওই সময় বলে দিতে হবে যে আপনাকে আমি এই সপ্তাহে ডাকতে চাইতেছি, এই সপ্তাহে বা এই মাসের এত তারিখে আসলে আপনার কি সমস্যা হবে। যদি পেশেন্ট এগ্রি করে, there are certain limitations of the patient. Patient may go outside, even abroad, or maybe in not in your practice place, to other areas of the country. So if you try to motivate him and tell him that whether it is suitable time for him or not, it is not adequate enough. ভালো হবে না যদি আপনি রোগীকে just usually they will try to forget. When they are fine, they will involve or engaged with your practice unless a second time, then he will not forget to visit you, and this way you can continue to manage his health status and his family's health status. Now, you just set the strategies that you are going to call him after 6 months. After that, you set up reminders. At least after 1 month, you should thank the patients that hopefully you are doing well, you have visited my practice, and we are going to meet after 3 or 4 months, and I will communicate with you. You are overloaded or you are busy with your work. You might forget, which is quite natural. এবং আমি আপনাকে আমাদের প্র্যাকটিসের তরফ থেকে স্মরণ করার ব্যবস্থা করব। আপনি আমাদেরকে হেল্প করবেন, এতে আপনার এবং আপনার ফ্যামিলি স্বাস্থ্য ব্যবস্থা ভালো থাকবে। এই রিমাইন্ডার্স গুলাই আপনি পাঠাবেন থ্রু ইমেইল, টেক্সট মেসেজ or টেলিফোন কল। Usually a reminder when the appointment is scheduled, আমরা রিঅ্যাপয়েন্টমেন্ট করলাম, তারপর আমরা রিমাইন্ডার দিব 2 weeks before the appointment. It's possible, if it is feasible and possible, you can communicate the patient every month through a message that hopefully you are doing well, how you are doing, and finally before the 2 weeks before the appointment, you should give him a reminder that you have got an appointment with me on this date at this time. And finally concluding with a reminder 24 hours before the appointment. And you have to decide on the best mode of communications when you are talking first time with the patient, that what type of communication he does prefer, and accordingly you should keep a note of that how he should be communicated. Now, for doing this, sometimes you can use automated e-communication. That will be cost effective and it will not consume your time. Automatically it will from your software, if you are using a software, it will send a message to the patient regarding all these things, and there is a template of how to send these messages. I think personally, if it is your own practice, you can develop a message system, and what you are going to write in the message, it should be in the software. If it is group practice, you can discuss with your colleagues and other staff to avoid the conflicts. But whatever you are going to do in group practice, it should be in consultation of the groups. Sometimes what happens, suppose a family physician is in the group practice and others are subspecialties. And family physician, sometimes he is taking the patients of medicine, skin, pediatrics, and nephrology and all other minor ailments. And it creates conflicts among the doctors that family physician is taking all the patients of other doctors. So it should be kept in mind, and you should have a proper strategy to resolve all these conflicts arise during the practice, and a proper planning should be in place. I think hopefully you have understand the things I have talked. And at the end of the meeting, maybe it is possible to discuss for about 10 minutes that if something is missing or if you want to know something specifically, then I can answer it. As I discussed, that use automated text for recalls, use patient portals for recall, segregate recall messages according to type. As I have told you that you can tell details in message or in your mail that why you are recalling the patient and what is the purpose of recall, so that patient also can prepare himself to come to you, because he will also need time and money to visit you. Now, after the human resource and recall system, we are going to discuss the finance and accounting part of the practice. So when one person is starting the practice, he can and he should first have to think that what will be the finance and how I will maintain the accounting system. Practice can be started with own finance or taking loans. Loans can be taken from banks or other institutions, or sometimes from friends or relatives, which is feasible for the person concerned to start the practice. When one person is starting with own finance, he will feel little bit comfortable because he doesn't have the pressure on his head to repay the finance immediately. But if you take loans, there should be a loan repayment strategies. From the very beginning of the practice, whenever you start, from the very first day, every month you have to pay your loan. So you have to be very careful that how much money you are going to allocate to start a practice. If it is a single practice, the person usually in charge of the accounting is the doctor himself. And if it is a group practice, there may be an accounting person or a practice manager can take care of that things. It will depend upon the total number of the doctors involved in the practice. Then when you are going to do this, you should keep it in mind the tax expense management system. That is very important too. That you should talk with a person who are dealing with tax, that what will be the situation at the end of a financial year. And you should, if you are not proactive enough, you may end up in mess at the end of the year and you have to pay a lots of bucks. So you should be careful, otherwise you will be frustrated. For daily running of the practice, you need petty cash. Now we are going to discuss little about petty cash. Petty cash is also referred as petty cash fund. It's small amounts of fund which you need to keep in the reception or with yourself, so that the expenses which arises in daily practice can be met up. Because every day you can go to bank and take the money and just put it there. And there should be a proper policy for spending the petty cash, where you are going to use this money, and which things you can buy, which is tax deductible, and it should be clear to all staffs. Otherwise, sometimes they will come to you and say, "Doctor, I want to buy these things," and it may not be emergency necessary to buy with petty cash. It's the emergency cash money which you can use it in your daily practices. And after 1 or 2 months, you will understand how much petty cash you will need to run the practice. First few months, it may be inappropriate calculation, but after going few months, it will be very easy to find out that what are the petty cash account you need to run the practice. And you should not keep this fund open to all. You should keep it in the hands of yourself, or designate somebody responsible and reliable, and there should be a clear calculation of the petty cash fund. At the end of the day, if you misuse your fund, you may end up with problem, because this is hard working money. How to manage petty cash? When you are going to spend money of the petty cash, there should be adequate voucher and documents. And if it is tax deductible things, definitely you should keep the bookkeeping system and keep the voucher, so you can return with your tax file to tax of revenue. Now a patient has come, you have started your practice, you want to keep medical record. Medical record can be kept in two ways. One is manual record, one is digital record. Manual record nowadays is obsolete almost, and it's most important to keep the patient records in a digital way, so that you can keep the record and you can recall the patients, and you can get each and everything in your system when a patients come next time. It is very important to manage a chronic patient and a good patient with a digital platform. So if you want to start a practice digitally, you need, according to my opinion, at least two computers, one at the reception and one is with the practicing doctor. So a patient receptionist will log in with his name to the software, and the doctor will log in. If a patient comes, the receptionist will book the patient and it will be reflected on the screen of the doctor. Suppose it will be like this. If you put the, I have just taken a screenshot of my practice. Suppose you can, for booking patients, it will know how busy he is. So he can look at patient schedule and utilize his time accordingly. Second screenshot is the records of patients. And you can see that at a glance, you can see the chronic medical problem, surgical problem, individual history, family history, immunization schedule, and chronic medications what he is getting. If you open the patient's file, you can see like this. Then you can go from the records. After seeing all the things, you could go to the prescription generation. It will be a little bit faster because otherwise I will not be able to finish the things. First of all, you have to take the history, present history, past history, medical history, all these things. It will be there in the software. And after seeing a patient, you will, if necessary, you will send for him for investigations and the patient will. Otherwise, you are going to prescribe the medication, and there is a screenshot of my institution of practice, which is family care. And you will write, suppose, investigation, CBC, serum, TSH, and urine are in this out for a patient, and advice to come back. If you start the practice from the very beginning with digital record system, you are for will come to you regularly, and there is very less to do when we start our medical life. That patient will come, who will get the prescription by hands. There were lots of things were absent that time, but nowadays things are changing. So try to be digital as far as possible. And it will increase your expertise and patient's family. When you are going to refer a patient, you should create a person who knows, and that specialist will also be a family physician, and he needs support, and the respective doctor will take care of your patient properly. So service professionals, if you can talk with the physiotherapist, optometrist, or other speech and hearing therapist, occupational therapist, and make a network. First of all, before starting your practice, there should be a definite referral network so that where you are going to send, because certain patients you have to send for opinion or further management. And whenever the patients will refer to an inappropriate institution or a person, it can create a bad impression about you. So whenever and wherever you are referring, you should have a very good relationship with them in addition to a good relationship to your patients. That will give a very positive feedback to your patient, and your feedback will, when he will hear from a specialist that your doctor have managed you very well, you will come back to me after 6 months. By this time, you should go back to your doctor and report to him. So whenever you will get this patient back to you, or the patient will come back to you, you will get the feedback. From there, you can learn lots of things and the diagnosis, and you can update your digital records accordingly, so that next time when the patient will come to you, you will be well aware of his all conditions and conditions of his family. I think there is a class about medical certificate that if it is incorporated within the medical software, you can just issue a medical certificate within few minutes. It's a very challenging context to our country. If you go to a doctor and doctor doesn't want to give a medical certificate digitally, he will write something and usually denies to give a medical certificate, which is not a proper practice to be done, because it's the right of the patient. If you want to go to if you write a leave for him, he has to goes to his employer and submit it. So there should be a system to provide a medical certificate, and if it is digital, it will be the best option. And when you are going to put a medical certificate, please provide your BMDC registration number. Otherwise, from lots of institutions, they will not accept it. And some of the institutions, even from embassies, they check with BMDC numbers. I have seen lots of time they have queried with me that whether I have personally seen the patient and advised rest. There is some conflicting issues that it has happened maybe lots of times. The employer has seen that sometimes medical certificate are issued unnecessarily, or even patient might create a medical certificate without the knowledge of or without attending to any doctor. So it's very important to keep it in mind to provide with the medical registration number. Last week, I have faced a problem like this. I issued a medical certificate to a Breck University student. And in my prescription, my name was written M. Choudhury, because I tried to avoid my full name, Abdul Muktadir Choudhury, because it was too long, and it creates a barrier to communicate among the patients, because my name is a little bit complicated. So those who are uneducated people, they just নামকে অনেক সময় বিকৃত করে বা ঠিক মতো বলতে পারে না। তো আমি চিন্তা করলাম যে এম চৌধুরী দিয়ে লেখা ভালো। তো ওরা ফোন দিয়ে আমাকে কনফার্ম করলো যে doctor, have you issued the certificate? And we have checked with VMDC. This registration is Muktadir Choudhury, and your name seems like Muktadir M. Choudhury. So are you the same person? Then I reconfirmed, and patient came back to me, and I had to write my full name there. And legally, and the university officials are correct. So registration number should be there in every prescription and medical certificates, and we should keep it in mind. All medical records are medical legal documents. It can be end up anywhere. As I talk with the continuity of the care, if it is single practice, it's very difficult to give after hours care for a one person. So you should have a policy that where should your patient go when you are not providing service. But if it is a good service, the continuity of the care can be provided easily. Arrangement for after hours and holiday management on-call roster for group practice. And if you hire a locum, you can arrange for remuneration of that persons and tell in advance that how much you are going to pay for a day or hourly basis, so that there is no conflict at the end of the day. Sometimes in the social media, you will see that lots of places are there where it's written that this hospital is blacklisted, so no doctor should go there. I think we should be a little bit more careful. We are going to appoint a locum or hiring a persons or doctors to do your job. Home visit, I think this was discussed with or will be discussed in other class with Pradipda or somebody in last session so far I have heard. And when you are giving a person treatment, it's important. Sometimes it may be mandatory or it may be necessary to visit the home. So you should make a schedule for home visit and making a safety checklist and follow this list accordingly. And at the end of the day, when you are going to visit a person's house, you are going to kill your lots of time. I don't want to mean kill, that you are going to spend lots of time, and you should be remunerated accordingly. These things should be discussed with the patient so that they can understand that no misunderstanding on conflicts at the end of your visit. Basics of dispensing practice and practice lab papers. If you want to start a practice, you will need what papers you will need. First of all, if it is under the city corporation, there should be a trade license for your practices. And if you want to start with lab, there should be a clearance for environmental pollution office, clearance certificate from fire brigade, and a permission from DG Health. If you want to dispense medications, there should be a drug license to dispense medication from DG Drug Administration. These are the usual papers we will need. And before starting the practice, this paper we should make ready. Sometimes the permission from the DG Health, it may take time, but you can start the practice. If it is lab, it will take time. But if it is your own practice and not lab, without lab, you can start with the trade license only. Now, we are going to discuss the promoting the practice in social media. You need to promote your practice most of the times with your patients, and other times there should be a practice newsletter. If you have gotten website, you can publish it through your website, and you should have a Facebook page. Even if it is, there is a YouTube link, you can do it. But whatever you are doing, keep it in mind and consider the legal and ethical issues involved with the practice. So be careful that you may be trying to promote your practice and you are not sure what you are promoting. In no way you can disclose the patient's confidentiality, patient's name, patient's telephone number, or any details of the patient so that patient can be traced. That is not allowed. We should keep it in mind. And social media is very important. Promoting in social media is very important in nowadays, so that your practice value is optimistic, and you can try to progress your practice, and encourage or go from a solo practice to a group practice if you properly promote it in the social media, if your population size or practice population increases or your individual patient base increases, so that you can survive. Now we are about to finish the certain aspects of management of your patients. In addition to these things, there are certain other important things about management of practice, that is time management. There is scarcity of time, money, land. It's always, resources are always limited and wants are high. So if we don't manage our time properly, we can end up in loser at the end of the day. So how we can manage our time? You should set the priority, what the things you should do, protect the priority and manage your priorities, and always keep it in mind how to meet the expectations of the people or expectations of your patients or patient's family, which was set or created by the establishing priority. This is very important. Sometimes patient may just come for the advice, doctor, please help me. My son is going to sit for examination and he needs to some helps from you. অনেক সময় বলতে পারে যে স্যার আমার বাচ্চাটা পরীক্ষা দিবে, এইচএসসি পরীক্ষা, আপনি একটু দোয়া করবেন। কিছু কিছু সময় এই সমস্ত সিচুয়েশনও ঘটে ফ্যামিলি প্র্যাকটিসে। সো when you will create the expectation, you should be careful enough that you are going to, or at least trying to do your best to help your patient. And when you are going to optimally manage your time, just try to following the time tips. Sometimes we think that just a minute, I will do it in just a minute. I'm going to start just now. Okay, I'll do it after a small task. And above all, excuse me, we have to keep it in mind that some of the things I have to delegate with somebody else. It's not a good idea. Just, yes, I will do everything. In management, you have to time, you have to say no, or learn to say no, that it's not possible for me. Or if you think that I will do everything by myself, it can be a great mistake. You have to delegate the things and do it, and by other people, by proper supervision. There is another term is procrastination, which means গড়িমসি। বাংলায় আমরা যাকে গড়িমসি বলি, এটা কিন্তু অনেক সময় আমাদের বিপদ ডেকে আনতে পারে। যে ঠিক আছে, আস্তে আস্তে করি, সমস্যা নাই, পরে করব, অন্য একদিন দেখব। That procrastination usually causes lost opportunities, decreasing productivities, and no job satisfaction. And at the end of the day, you will be frustrated, stress will build up on you, and you can't concentrate on your patient, and the outcome will be disastrous. So try to do your best by optimal time utilization, and যতটুকু সম্ভব procrastinationটা avoid করতে। Now we are going to discuss another topics. I'm just trying to stimulate or storming your brain so that you can go through the things. These things will be needed. Change is inevitable. Sometimes you will need to change. When you start a practice, it will go through a process of change to grow up your practice or develop a bigger practice. So change is inevitable, and people's nature, they usually resist the change. And the most important thing for resisting the change is fear of unknown. Just what will happen if this change happens? So this needs to be explained. And sometimes if change is done by uninforming the people informed or the people involved, the uninformed people might resist the change, or sometimes there is dissemination of misinformation and পারসেপশনস অ্যাবাউট দ্য চেঞ্জ, যে এই পরিবর্তন হইলে হয়তো এই জিনিস হবে, আমার নিজের চাকরিটাও সমস্যায় পড়তে পারে। সো এই সমস্ত জিনিসটা, চেঞ্জ জিনিসটা আপনাদের একটু জানতে হবে এবং কন্টিনিউয়াস চেঞ্জের মধ্যে থাকবেন, এবং এই চেঞ্জ না করলে তো আপনার প্র্যাকটিসে ডেভেলপমেন্ট হবে না। সো when you are changing the people, you should follow certain strategies and manage resistance. First of all, discuss the issues with the involved stakeholders. That is, negotiate with the people, educate the people about the change, what you want to achieve with the change. And when you are making decisions, you should not take decisions. You should make decisions with the people involved and allow them to participate with the process. After taking all the reasonable steps, if you are not successful, then you can support and apply reasonable force to make the change. Sometimes it may not be possible without applying a reasonable force to change the process to happen. So when you are changing things, you should keep these things in mind. When you are starting with the practice, you will get certain underperformance. Underperformance is performed less than expectations, and you can find it out from the job description, that what is the acceptable achievement of a person or of your employee. One of the major cause of the underperformance is absenteeism. If it is absenteeism is there, you should find out the cause and trends. What are the trends of the absenteeism? কি কারণে লোকজন আসতে চায় না কাজে? Monitor properly, and proactive behavior. Counsel the person involved and tell him that if one person is absent, it's like a teamwork. If one person is absent, if a cleaner is absent, you can't run the practice. So try to make him understand, and if it is not working, then you should think what to do, and it should be in a proactive manner. That it's not like that you will hang it for day after day, and practice will suffer, your patient will suffer, and financially you will be the loser. So underperformance needs to be attended, and you should be very careful about this. In addition to these things, there are other management tool and skills you need to learn. I think that all of you should go through these things. It's possible one day it may not be possible, but if you take time and gradually go to the process, you will learn it. Like supervision, that how you are going to supervise a person, what is supportive supervision, what is authoritarian type of supervision, what is dictatorship type of supervision. These things you should keep in mind. Decision making. When you are making decision, you should be very careful that you are making decision involving the stakeholders, not by yourself taking decisions. So decision making is also important in practical settings. Delegations. It's not possible for the work for one person, single person, to done by himself. He has to delegate these things, and needs the works to be done by other person. There will be a conflict in any organization or institution. You have to learn the conflict management. Part of the conflict, when you are managing the conflict, you should be very careful about conflict management. And conflict is inevitable in any organization, and if it is handled properly, increases the performance. Then there should be a management of patient complaints. At least there should be a complaints box. আমার প্র্যাকটিসে যেটা আছে এটা আছে পরামর্শ বাক্স। এটা যদি আপনারা ইনপুট নেন, অনেক ইনপুট পাবেন রোগীদের কাছ থেকে অথবা রোগীর অ্যাটেন্ডেন্সের কাছ থেকে, যে আপনারা কি কি চেঞ্জ লোকজন চায়, কি কি জিনিস আপনাদের কাছ থেকে চায়। And to increase the performance, regular administrative and clinical meetings is very vital, which needs to be done with the staffs of the practice. Then when you are finishing with the writing prescription, you should very careful about cost effectiveness of consultation. That is, one consultations, if it costs thousands of bucks, it might be very painful for the patients, and that patient's managed come back to you. So cost effectiveness in consultation process is very effective. Specifically, you have to keep in mind investigations, medications, and place of reference. Again, I am saying investigations. You should use investigations very cautiously because it costs money of the patients. Medications, place of reference is also very important. If a patient is poor, you can refer the patient to the government hospital. If he can afford private, you can send him to private, but it needs to be discussed with the polypharmacy because that is becoming a huge problem in our country. Finally, you should go for auditing and management of the practice. If you audit your practice and manage your practice properly, there will be more effective management, client satisfaction, and job satisfaction. At the end of the day, you will be in a happy mood, and your patient will also in a happy mood. That is called win-win situations, and your performance will be better. I hope you have enjoyed the class. Now we can take questions, and I can try to help you if you have any queries or some things. I have done the whole process through data, so there might be lots of delay in hearing or changing the slides. I hope you will take it easily. আপনারা ক্ষমা সুন্দর দৃষ্টিতে দেখবেন এবং আশা রাখি যে এই জিনিসগুলো আপনারা নিজেরা নিজেদের মধ্যে চর্চা করবেন। মনে রাখবেন, ফ্যামিলি মেডিসিনে কোনো জিনিস একবারে শেখার না। You have to practice this time again and again, and at the end of the day you will be successful. I hope all of you will be a successful practitioner in your life. My best regards and blessings with you, and I am requesting you to ask questions if you want to know something. Please. Are you going to listen to me? আপনারা কি আমাকে শুনতে পাচ্ছেন?
জি স্যার,
জি। তো আপনাদের কোনো কিছু জানার থাকলে আমার নাম্বারটা, টেলিফোন নাম্বারটা যদি একটু নোট করে নেন, 01819197663. Can I repeat it again? 01819197663. If you have got any queries even after the class, and if you need any help from me, I will try my best to help you out. I can see my friend is there, Dr. Ahmed Sharif Shubho. Have you got any concern or anything to ask me, please? I hope we can conclude the class if you don't have any other question.
Okay, sir.
Thank you very much for attending the class. As I have told you, you might have my practice visit. Even if you have got any query, you can ask me at that time. I will try my best to help you out.
ডক্টর
But please
মুক্তাদির,
try
আমি
to,
একটু
please.
ইন্টারাপ্ট করবো শেষ হওয়ার আগে। সরি, আমি পুরো লেকচারটা থাকতে পারি নাই, সরি, আমার পেশেন্ট ছিল। আমি জাস্ট একটা জিনিস অন বিহাফ অফ দি ট্রেনিজ জানতে চাচ্ছি, যে আজকে যে ওই প্র্যাকটিস সফটওয়্যার নিয়ে কথা হলো এবং কম্পিউটারাইজ প্র্যাকটিস নিয়ে কথা হলো, তো আমাদের ট্রেনিরা যদি এই ব্যাপারে আরো কিছু জানতে চায় বা কোত্থেকে এটা সোর্স করা যায়, এই ব্যাপারে যদি কোনো হেল্প প্রোভাইড করা যাবে, ইনফরমেশন দেওয়া যাবে, জানি না এটা আলাপ হয়েছে কিনা, যদি বাই চান্স আলাপ না হয়ে থাকে একটু জিজ্ঞেস করলাম আর কি। থ্যাংক ইউ।
আচ্ছা, সফটওয়্যারের ব্যাপারে আমি আমার পার্সোনাল সফটওয়্যার আছে, এটা মানে ওদের স্ক্রিনশটটা দেখানো হয়েছে যে এইভাবে আমি মেইনটেইন করতেছি। এবং যদি আমার সফটওয়্যার যদি কেউ ইউজ করতে চায়, I am ready to provide them and
Okay, sure.
help them out in that things. And there are other lots of software in the country. They can try to use that, but lots of software has got lots of limitations because it was not created after discussing with the doctors. Certain softwares even doesn't have any medical certificate, death certificate, or even how many times the patient has visited me, appointment dates, how much money patient has paid me, financial details or statistical details. And certain softwares, they are doing it like Square has developed a software and they are taking the data. So I don't have the right to send the data of my patient to a third party authority because legally I am bound to keep their confidentiality. So এটা এই সমস্ত ক্ষেত্রে সমস্যাও আছে। তো যদি কারো আমার সফটওয়্যার পার্সোনাল দরকার হয় বা কোনো ইনফরমেশন দরকার হয়, I will try to help our colleagues or friends or junior brothers or students, whatever you like. They will be helped definitely, as you are not in the country, inside home. So you might be concerned, but I will try my level best on behalf of you so that they will be helped.
থ্যাংক ইউ, থ্যাংক ইউ। আমার মনে হয় যারা প্র্যাকটিক্যালে তোর কাছে যাবে প্র্যাকটিস ভিজিটে, ওরা আরো ডিটেলস আলাপ করতে পারবে এবং কোনো এই ব্যাপারে রিলেভেন্ট ইনফরমেশন হলে ইউ ক্যান গিভ দেম অ্যালং। থ্যাংক ইউ সো মাচ।
You are welcome. Thanks everybody. Have a nice time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Keep well. Have a nice time.